Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Not the happiest one to talk about today, I'll be honest, and that's why I'm kind of happy that you've come to join me, because you're my little support pup, aren't you? I love you. Yes. If you don't know me, my name is Rachel. This little gorgeous girl here is Kyra, and she is my best friend in the world. Like, we're family, we're best friends, we're support for each other, we take care of each other. It's the perfect little family relationship, isn't it, gorgeous girl? And you guys will know this if you've been watching my channel for a while, because she pops up all the time. She's very good at reading my emotions. I constantly post about her on Instagram. She even has her own account. She's my life and I'm hers, and we just mean everything to each other. And that's why today's video is kind of horrible to make, because we're going to be talking about another YouTuber couple who, it's awful, you probably heard about this, but they put their perfectly healthy 9-year-old dog down because they didn't know how to look after it, essentially. And it's a whole thing. They say they did it because the dog attacked their son, but when you watch their whole video explanation, there's a lot more to it than that. What do you want? Do you want a cuddle? Yeah? Do you want a cuddle? I love you. I promise I'll never hurt you. Ever. Basically, what I gathered from watching their video, and we are going to be going through it like step by step in a moment, is that basically they got a dog which had a lot of anxiety issues because he was attacked when he was younger, and they never did anything to really combat that by the sounds of it. So he seems to have issues with other dogs stemming from anxiety, it seems, rather than aggression. And even if he did have aggression issues, hello, I know, you can lick all my makeup off. Good girl. And it seems that even if he did have aggression issues, again, they never addressed it. They basically, by the sounds of it, just... You're knocking the microphone. He's trying to steal the show. Yeah? Good girl, you deserve it. It seems like they basically just kept this dog locked inside, away from the world, and made no attempts to socialize it with other dogs, which would have made the aggression and anxiety even worse. It seems they didn't do any proper training with it. And then when they had their son, they allowed this toddler to literally hurt the dog so badly it was scarred. Apparently the toddler would just like go follow the dog around. Even when the dog was like, no, I clearly don't want attention, and was trying to get away from him, they let the toddler annoy and bother the dog. I know, it's sad, isn't it? I know. They let the toddler injure the dog so badly that apparently his ear is all scarred and was all scarred and damaged. It's just, oh God, if anyone ever hurt Kyra, I don't know what I'd do, especially not that badly. And it seems like this was something that happened on multiple occasions, the child hurting the dog and injuring the dog to the point where it was scarred, and clearly, I think, scared of the child, a little bit bothered by the child, by the sounds of it, at least that's what I'm getting from the behaviour that they're describing. And the child would also steal food from the dog, which, as any dog owner knows, you don't do. You give the dog time and space to eat their food. It's what you need to do. It's how you build up trust. And like, Kyra trusts me enough now where, like, you know, if she's eating and I want to add a little bit of something extra to her bowl, I'll just give her a little tap on the bum and say, wait, baby, and she'll let me do that, because we built up that trust. But if anyone, like, if like a stranger tried to take her food or another dog tried to take her food, I don't think Kyra would react, but it's understandable why some dogs would be defensive of that. So on this occasion, from what I can gather, the child took the dog's food, and they don't mention whether the child had been bothering the dog beforehand or hurting the dog beforehand, but it culminated where, where the child took the dog's food, and the dog retaliated, and they say that the dog bit the child in the face, but then they go on to mention how the child only had a small scratch on it, and by the sounds of it, the only damage was done by the bottom little teeth, the little, like, so not the fangs, not the canines, it just like a little scratch from the bottom teeth. So it feels like maybe the dog gave the kid a warning more than anything else. And in this situation, what I'd say is, you're going down, babe, good girl, love you. What I'd say is discipline your child. But they chose to have the dog put down. It's very disturbing. I want to kind of like look through a few clips and talk about these with you, because there's a few things that don't sit right with me. One thing I will say is that the overall tone of their video was very bizarre to me. And the woman in particular acted in certain ways that made me think that she didn't really like or want the dog in the first place. Like, watch her reaction in this clip.
He was an awesome inside dog. He was an awesome inside dog.
And then there are just other things as well where her emotional response doesn't feel genuine. And I don't know, it's hard for me to say because on the one hand, I'm so emotionally connected to Kyra that if anything happened to her, I don't know, even if it's something like, in my old building, there was this man who used to just say really nasty things to me and Kyra, and it was, you know, she never responded or anything, but I was upset by it. And he never did anything to, like, physically hurt her. It was just nasty comments. And that upset me so much and got me so emotional. So, on the one hand, I'm like, well, maybe just because I had reacted that emotionally, it doesn't mean everyone else would. So I'm kind of taking it with a pinch of salt. And the other thing is that if you've been watching my content for a while and you kind of know, I guess, some of the issues I have, I'm not necessarily the best with picking up on other people's tone sometimes, and it takes me a while of getting to know people before I really kind of like pick up on what certain cues mean and that kind of thing. And also it's taken a lot of work for me to be able to express myself properly in this way as well, like years of work. So I'm very aware that me commenting on tone isn't the best thing because I'm not an expert, but what I will say is there's just something that in the pit of my stomach, in my gut, just doesn't sit right with me from this reaction. Just, I don't know, take a look at these clips and let me know what you think, but this isn't the be and end all of my problems. My issues really come in what they have to say in the rest of the video.
Hi guys, I feel awkward just like opening this video. There is no cheery way to open this video, and so we're here today to share with you what's been going on in our life. I don't know, do you want to say hi? I feel like I'm just like talking.
Hi. Well, I mean, like I said, when I've had to, you know, think about this decision in the past, I've shed tears about, well, we were out the door, right? And in the moment, I'm thinking, you know, I grew up going to the airport, and then there was just a few things that happened, and we just canceled it and scheduled. I think Bowser he was the best animal I ever owned. Bull Terrier is my favorite animal, period.
Oh.
So.
I want to say one more thing actually before we go. Where's my phone? I wrote a list of things that I'll never forget about Bowser that I was going to put in my Instagram post. I'm sorry. So Dan had to step aside. I just wanted to read you these things. So he said things that I don't want to forget, and I will never forget about McBowsen.
So with that in mind, let's take a look at a few clips together.
Hi guys. I feel awkward just like opening this video. There is no cheery way to open this video. And so we're here today to share with you what's been going on in our life. So over the weekend, going into the weekend on Friday, we had to put Bowser to sleep. Man, it's so awkward saying the words. I feel like I don't even know how to quite say it. And this was not a decision we came to lightly. One of the things that I said was, I was like, people aren't gonna get it. Like, people are gonna be upset. And Dan's response was, oh, that was a bird. Dan's response was, nobody's going to be as upset as I'm upset.
This initial opening reaction is so bizarre to me because the only things she can think about are like, this feels awkward, and I was worried what people would say, like the public, her fans, the viewers. She was worried what they would say. her initial reaction doesn't seem to be upset by what's happened. It doesn't seem to be heartbroken by the death of her dog. And she's not so much worried about, you know, the well-being of the dog, the well-being of her kid, anything like that. She's like, oh, I'm worried people are going to judge me for these actions. It's like, yeah, you should be worried because they're heartless. But let's carry on.
We've had Bowser for almost a decade, and he's an angel, but, you know, he likes to get rowdy, and that's part of the reason why I liked him. You know, for many, many years, for most of his life, he was an extremely dangerous animal outside the walls of my house. So he was definitely an outside animal that I had to keep inside.
This is all kind of really bizarre to me because they're saying, like, he was an absolute angel, but he was a very dangerous animal. What is it? Because it feels like to me he was an angel who had some issues, and that doesn't make necessarily a dangerous animal. It makes an animal that has the potential to be dangerous if you don't manage it, and you don't work with the animal, and you don't try and help it. This is also another point that I want to bring up, like, it's a small thing, but it's one that bothered me, is that he says he was an outside animal that I had to keep inside. And they talk about this throughout the video with things like how, you know, they couldn't really let him out to play with other dogs. I got the impression that they didn't really walk him or take him to parks all that often or anything like that. And then at one point they showed this photograph. And this really bothered me because look at that dog's claws. They are far too long. That is going to be painful for a dog to walk on. A dog has like pads on the bottom of the feet, and that's the bit that should be touching the floor. That's the bit that the pressure goes to because the pressure's spread out. It's not going to cause them pain. The pads are tough enough to, you know, take it. And you know, dogs have claws here that kind of like come over the edge of the pad a little bit. But if those claws get long enough that they're what's hitting the floor and not the pad, then that dog is going to feel all the pressure of walking. All their weight is going to be bearing down on these tiny little nails, and that's going to go up and it's going to hurt their legs and it's going to be painful for them. Walking is going to be so difficult. It's why it's so important to either walk your dog on tarmac and concrete and hard surfaces enough that it grinds the nail down naturally, or if you can't do that, for example, like if you live in the countryside and your dog's mainly walking on grass, things like that, it's important that you trim your dog's claws regularly. It's just a safety, comfort thing for the dog. Like, can you imagine if you had to walk around on your toenails all day instead of your toes and your feet? That would be so painful, and that's what this poor dog, it seems, might have had to go through. If you're not taking your dog out enough and it's not getting enough walking and exercises and you're not clipping the claws, its claws can look like this. So as an example of kind of like what their claws should look like, here's Kyra. She gets lots of walks on pavement as well as grass, and her claws are naturally kind of like kept down to a good length. This is what they look like normally, and this is what they look like when they're on the floor. So as you can see, her pads are what's touching the floor. That's what gets all the pressure. Her nails barely scratch the surface. Like they barely touch, just enough to kind of like be kept ground down. That's what a healthy dog's paws look like. That's what doesn't hurt the dog. This poor thing, he would have been in so much pain, and that bothers me.
Well, and Bowser was attacked when he was a puppy, and we never really talked about that very much, but that was a big turning point in Bowser's personality. So prior to the attack, Bowser could go to dog parks. Bowser was just calmer in general. And then after the attack, it just triggered something in him, and he was attacked by another bull terrier, actually my parents' old bull terrier. But it's something that can happen with the breed, and so ever since then, things really took a turn.
No, I'm sorry, but don't blame this on the breed. Not at all. This is not a breed thing. There are no such thing as bad breeds. It's all down to the owners and who takes care of them. Like, and I know some people disagree with that, but honestly, it's all about how you treat them and train them. No breed is inherently bad, just like no race of people is inherently bad. Yes, some have tendencies to be more one way or another in terms of personality, but You can't just say, oh, this aggression is because of the breed. This behavioral problem is because of the breed. Because it's not. Because there are so many dogs of those breeds that don't have those aggression problems, that don't have those behavioral problems, because people have worked with them and helped them overcome them. A dog being attacked by another dog is going to cause anxiety, and it's going to cause stress, and it might mean your dog is very, very defensive around other dogs, is scared of other dogs, doesn't want to go near them, and acts defensively and therefore aggressively when they see other dogs. That's a natural reaction, but it's up to you as the owner to take responsibility for that and say, okay, well, I'm going to make my dog feel safe. I'm going to help reduce their anxiety. I'm going to help him socialize with other dogs who aren't going to be aggressive or defensive, to help him build up his confidence to know how to behave around other dogs. That's your responsibility as an owner, and it's difficult. It can be hard and it takes time, but it's worth it, and you owe it to your dog to do that. And if you can't, rehome your dog to someone who can do that with them. So my neighbours here downstairs, they have the most beautiful greyhound called Dougal, and he's a rescue dog as well, like Kyra. And he is an ex-racing greyhound, and because of that, he has a few kind of behavioural issues, and he's very nervous, he's very anxious, and at first he was being a little bit aggressive with other dogs. So what his owners did, wonderful people by the way, they got him a little muzzle for when he goes out, so that if he does get scared and he gets snappy, he doesn't actually hurt anyone or any other dog. And then they very slowly started to introduce him to other dogs who they knew would be kind of like well behaved and calm and stuff like that. So while he's still nervous around puppies now, he is getting so brave around Kyra these days, and Kyra's great with him. She'll kind of like let him have a sniff if he wants, but she'll also run away and give him space, and you know, she kind of knows to kind of back off and not be in his face. And that's the kind of thing that you need with an anxious dog. You need to slowly introduce him to dogs that are already calm around other dogs before you can kind of build up to the more difficult situations and so on. It's not just oh, this dog has aggression issues. They'll always have them. It's the breed. That's a cop-out, and it's not fair to you or the dog. The dog deserves a better quality of life. It's like I have anxiety issues as well, and sometimes they've caused me to lash out at people and say things that I didn't mean. But I can't just say, well, I have anxiety, it's how I am, just accept that. No. You go to counselling, you work on yourself, you work on getting coping mechanisms in exactly the same way as you need to do that for your dog. It's an explanation of the behaviour, but it's not an excuse, and it's not a reason to just keep letting it happen.
There's been multiple instances, we could have put Bowser down really, really long time ago, and several times. And I've just been putting the day off.
Because you don't want to make that decision. That's the thing.
Yes,
when you love an animal, you don't want to make that decision.
This disgusts me that they're saying that, because they're saying we had multiple opportunities to get him help and we didn't. We had multiple opportunities to rehome him and we didn't. And actually, let me play you this other clip as well about why they didn't rehome him now, and you'll see why, in this context, this is annoying me.
We actually attempted to rehome Bowser because, like we said, we know that, I mean, he's our little like clown. He was our clown angel. Like I don't, it's, sorry if I'm awkward, it's just finding the words are really awkward because it's, emotional. And we contacted the Humane Society, and we had a long discussion with someone over there, and basically she made it clear to us that rehoming Bowser was not an option because he had been with us from birth, basically. I mean, he was Dan's spirit animal. Dan was his spirit human, so they were bonded. Even rehoming, apparently, from what we're gathering now, when you rehome a dog, it's still like your liability if the dog were to attack someone. So it doesn't just, you don't just give the liability apparently to the next owner, supposedly. Maybe that's a state-by-state thing.
So they're claiming that they didn't rehome him because he's too old to be rehomed. So why didn't you do it earlier when you knew that you couldn't help him before? You've apparently been having all these issues for years since he was a puppy, and you've just been putting it off until apparently it's too late to do anything else but kill him. This is disgusting. And also, I completely disagree. This dog is 9 years old. He's not too old to be rehomed. Plenty of people adopt senior dogs, and plenty of people adopt senior dogs with behavioural problems. Yes, it can be harder to help them overcome it when they're so old, but it's possible. And yes, it might be kind of like more emotionally straining on the dog to be rehomed at an older age, but overall it's going to improve his quality of life. So I think he would appreciate it in the long run. your options aren't just live with a difficult dog or kill it. They shouldn't be your only options. They're not your only options.
He's seriously injured a couple different dogs, including Zoe, who's standing right here. I've had her stitched up a couple times.
And these are just red flags to get your dog help and support and training, not to kill it.
He's such a powerful animal that just...
This is another thing as well. It's like when people say, oh, well, it's just the breed. Oh, he's just powerful, blah, blah, blah. Every animal has the potential to hurt people. And especially, this is especially true of certain dogs that are more powerful than others. For example, Kyra, if she bit someone, would definitely do more damage than a Chihuahua biting someone. Obviously, it's just biology. She has a bigger jaw than a Chihuahua. She has sharper teeth than a Chihuahua. It's a thing. But this is exactly why you shouldn't get a dog that you can't handle and look after. And this includes taking into account the fact that it can do damage. If you can't stop a dog from causing damage, don't adopt a dog. It's as simple as that. It's not the dog's fault for having bigger teeth or stronger jaws or more muscles. It's your fault for not training it to not use them. This is going to sound like a weird example, and it's a very tame one in comparison to this, but when I first adopted Kyra, she didn't really know how to play with mini toys, so things like, she's a champion fetch player now, but she had no idea how to do that when we adopted her, and that was something that we kind of like taught her, and now she loves. But one thing she did like to do was chew things, and especially in the first weeks when she was still very anxious and settling in, she chewed and destroyed a lot of toys, like a lot, just ripping them apart. It was like her nervous thing. And don't get me wrong, she still loves chewing and destroying to this day. Like, I'm sure you guys have seen some of the photos of her with like her toy dinosaurs and stuff on Instagram, and the stuffing all over the floor, or like I'll leave the room for 5 minutes and I'll come back and there's dino guts everywhere. Fluffy dino guts. It's very cute. She has so much fun with it. Some people might look at this and say, oh, well, she's a chewer, she's gonna destroy everything, blah, blah, blah. But she doesn't. She only chews her toys because that's what she's been taught to do, and she's been taught to respect everything else. So in the first week that we adopted her, she saw one of my stuffed animals on the floor, and it was actually baby Jasper, who, hang on, I can show you him. Here's the little guy. This is my baby Jasper. No, I love this guy so much. My sister got him for me when I had to have my old dog Jasper put down, because even though this isn't a Cocker Spaniel, he was the closest one to looking like a Cocker Spaniel that they had in the shop. And it kind of looks like him in the face and the ears. Anyway, he's my baby Jasper, and he reminds me of my old dog Jasper. And so he's very special to me, like all my stuffed animals are, because they all have stories behind them. And in the first week, Kyra was there chewing a toy on the floor, and she saw baby Jasper, and she went to pick him up. And she just kind of like grabbed him sort of on the bum here, like with her teeth. And I was like, Kyra, no. That's not yours. And I was stern, I was strict, I told her. She dropped him straight away, and I took him away, and I, kind of like, I was like, no, and, get the point across as you do. I don't want to do a strict voice now, because she's sleeping over there, and I don't want her to think she's done anything wrong, but you know what I mean. And we taught her that. And then, as I kind of like, I put him down on the floor next to her, and I was like, no. And she knew not to touch him. And then as a reward, I gave her, like, one of her toys and some treats, and she knew that, this is good toy, this is not toy. Do you know what I mean? And since then, she has never once touched one of my stuffed animals. She's never destroyed anything in the house, like clothes or furniture or anything. Like, not once. She's only ever chewed and destroyed her toys that I've specifically given her and told her it's a toy. And even though it's in her nature to chew and destroy, and she loves it and enjoys it, that doesn't mean she's just going to chew and destroy anything. You can still set boundaries and rules, and if you do it properly with a dog that respects you, they'll respect those rules. This next part really, really annoys me, because he starts talking about what happened when their kid was born and how the dog responded to that. And to me, it seems like the dog was only ever reactive. If anything, the child is definitely in the wrong here. The child is the one who needs to be disciplined and punished and taught not to treat animals like this. Don't punish the dog for the child's behavior.
It just got to a point to where, I had a son, and it didn't work out for them.
Do you not want to share the specifics of that?
Once Logan got to the point of being able to crawl around and run around by himself. You know, he's really grabby too. He grabbed onto Bowser's ear, and Bowser didn't do anything. You know, he's that calm, gentle giant that lives in my house. But you know, Logan got him so good that if you know what an MMA fighter looks like, or a wrestler, they have that cauliflower ear, it just balloons up. That's what happened to Bowser's ear. It fully ballooned up, and it took about a month for it to go back down, but now it's scarred a little bit. And
you know, I know a lot of people who before kids, they didn't want to get a dog because they were worried about the kind of obvious thing of like, then the kids get there and then the dog gets jealous or aggressive or whatever. And a lot of you guys have asked us since we've had Logan, how Logan is done with the dogs. And we've told all of you over and over again that he's been fine with them. And I just want to clarify that that wasn't a lie, that he in a lot of ways really has been fine. But it got harder the older he got, because, you know, when he was a baby, it was like Bowser wasn't going to go out of his way to aggress on Logan. So everything was fine. Like, but once he got older and he could move and he got feistier, it was Logan in Bowser's space. And Logan couldn't help but grab at him and try to steal things from him and try to interrupt him when he was eating or scream at him. And so it was almost kind of unfair to Bowser, because it was like, he's a good dog-ish. I mean, we told you we mourned him years ago thinking he was going to have to go because of those things, but he wasn't doing really anything to Logan.
He'll walk over to Bowser, and Bowser doesn't want to get grabbed on, so he knows he has to get up and move.
Every time.
So he
he
has to
sleeping
get up quickly.
or relaxing. It's like, ugh.
Yes, and it's always accompanied with a growl. So he's always it's like a grumpy
like
growl, and I have to move, and he'll move to the next spot. And then if Logan follows him, it's a growl and move. There was one incident that happened. Bowser got Logan in the face, and it actually happened 20 minutes before we were supposed to leave to the airport to go visit her parents. So obviously it wasn't bad, but Logan still is
has a little mark.
He's still healing up from a little mark on his face from Bowser's little, we call him his dolphin teeth. So
I'm sorry, but this just, you can't equate these two stories and think the dog is the bad guy in this. And I know there's a lot of people who watch my channel who are like, oh, well, dogs are just dogs and kids are so much better and more important. But I'm like, no, I'm sorry. They're both living creatures that are part of your family. I think they both deserve the same level of respect. And I know some people don't agree with that, but I do. And I don't think you can equate these two stories at all. You have a child who is literally nearly tearing the ear off a dog so bad that it swells up and he's scarred for life. And this dog didn't respond to that. And yet, what the dog does do in retaliation to another event, which was the stealing the food, is the dog does a little scratch with his flat-bottom teeth, which, as you can see in this picture, there's barely anything there. And they literally describe the damage this dog did as a little mark. That's not the same as nearly having your ear ripped off and it's being scarred for life. They're not equatable. Why is the dog being punished with having to give its life and the child isn't? And it seems to me that the child did this on repeat occasions, whereas this is one single occasion where the dog has scratched the child. It's not equatable.
And it happened in a way that, like, I mean, it almost doesn't matter because the end result was the same. But in the spirit of telling the story, it wasn't like Bowser attacked Logan. Just like you said, it was like
defensive.
Yeah, Logan tried to take food from him.
They literally just admitted it. It wasn't an attack, it was defensive because Logan tried to take food from him. Punish the child, not the dog. I think throughout this whole thing, she's been coming across way worse because she seems more, like, emotionally removed. It seems like she never really wanted the dog in the first place. She gets these weird reactions. And I was thinking, like, the guy's clearly, like, kind of emotional, and he does seem to be upset by this, until this one sickening moment. It's almost like he talks about fantasizing about killing the dog himself.
Well, we were out the door, right? And in the moment, I'm thinking, you know, I grew up with the movie Old Yeller, and I wanted to pick Bowser up by the back of the neck and take him into the backyard and put him down right there.
Barely even have words for that. It's just revolting. Anyway, then they gave more examples about how the kid would just annoy the dog and not leave it alone and never respect its boundaries. And again, this comes down to teach your kids to respect animals. Teach your kids to understand that animals can be dangerous when provoked and not to hurt them and not to provoke them. One of the last bits that really annoys me is this little line here.
You already know how I feel. Like, I think everything is created by God. I think that creation is so beautiful, and Bowser was so unique and special and perfect for our family.
Okay, all my atheism stuff aside, Bowser was so perfect for our family. And yet you're talking about how he showed aggression, and you couldn't do this with him, and you couldn't do this, and you couldn't take him here, and he was a dog that loved to be outside, but you couldn't take him outside, so you had to keep him inside, and then your kid's annoying him, and he literally got injured and hurt and all this stuff. It sounds like he was a terrible, terrible fit for your family. It sounds like you couldn't give him what he needed at all. And apparently he couldn't give you what you needed because you wanted some easy dog that you didn't have to work with and that your kid could just pull around like a ragdoll. Sounds like that's what you wanted. And this dog, Bowser, he deserved better. I don't think he was a perfect fit for your family at all, and it's disgusting that you're claiming he was. Everything says to me that you could not look after this dog, and that's not fair. So after the dog attacked their son and they cleared up the little scratch on his face, they decided to have him put down, and then they staged this weird photo shoot with him in the garden so they could post it on social media, and then it's all just disgusting and disturbing. And if there's any other clips that I want to talk about that I've forgotten about, I'm just going to insert them here now and you can tell me your thoughts. Hey, so I've literally just turned the camera off and put it down from filming, and it was funny because as I was filming, my computer binged, and you can hear it binging in the background again, and it was a message from Elise. You might know her, great YouTuber, and she sent me a video of the husband in this family. Oh god, it is. Watch this, it's revolting.
Oh my god.
He's literally using the smaller dog as like a toy and bait to get Bowser riled up and make him angry and aggressive and make him want to like tear and pull things apart. And like when I do this with Kyra, it's with like, look, her dinosaur toy's here and he's gutless at the minute, but she loves him, and we do this and we play tug of war and it's all fun. But I'm doing this to get her riled up to play, not to be aggressive, especially not towards another dog. For all you complain about this dog being aggressive towards others, you're literally enabling it and encouraging it and teaching it, look, this smaller dog is something to be aggressive towards and want to rip apart and want to fight. This isn't just a neglectful family who aren't training their dog properly. They're actively encouraging harmful behaviors. It's disgusting, and that smaller dog as well must have been terrified, and being thrown around like that is I know, baby, you can tell I'm upset, can't you? I'm sorry, Pickle, I'll come play with you in a second, but that's all I want to say and throw in there. Sorry, I'm gonna go play with the Koobie now. I'm trying to say hi, babe. I'm trying to say hi. Good girl, good girl. You can tell I'm upset, can't you? She's an angel. I'm gonna say hi. Thank you for caring. I love you. Yeah, this is where I'm gonna end this today. You know how I feel about animals, you know how I feel about my Kyra, and I'm sure you can understand how much this sickens me and disgusts me and saddens me, and I hope these people are never allowed to have a dog again. And actually it makes me sad that they still have one, because look at the way she's holding it, like it's this little accessory that's just there for her to like hold and be like, look guys, sorry, I'm around babes, look guys, like, and she's just talking, she's just like holding this dog like, yeah, it doesn't sit right with me.
I wanted to give you the update, and I just wanted to let you know I'm going to be trying my best to continue to fill you guys in on things as they're changing and unfolding here in the next month or two, but just know that like a lot is changing, a lot is unfolding.
It's like the dog is an accessory and not a person. I'm going to stop being angry, or try to. But for now, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Please let me know down in the comments. Yeah, thank you for watching today. I'll see you guys again soon.